Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, February 25th. I was just looking at the date here. I'm trying to remember. I think it's Tuesday. Let's just confirm Tuesday. I'm still jet lagged from being in DC all of last week. So I flew back home yesterday. So welcome to your daily dose of salt and light with myself, Nadine Ness. So much happened last week. So much happened in the world, and so much happened with me. If you didn't catch in, I did go live. I think it was on Sunday afternoon. I was kind of exploring around DC and I did go live for just a little bit. So, kind of explaining some of the crazy stuff that happened while in DC. I was going to share some photos and stuff of people that I met, and I might have chance. We'll see how late this goes. I am late starting. I wanted to make sure I had all the information that I needed to talk about what I want to talk to you guys about. And I wanted to make sure I could show it to you guys while I'm sharing my thoughts on it. So I might go into some of the people that I met while in DC. I might not. I'm trying to decide how much do I want to give away publicly? How much do I want to keep to myself for now? But I will share a little bit about it. So, just because I met some people, had some really high level discussions, and I'm seeing some of those discussions having an impact in Canada. So, to a certain extent. So, I don't know to what extent, but we'll see as the future goes. I met some really interesting people, was a part of some really interesting conversation, even with people from the White House. So, but yeah, with that, I didn't know about this. And I'm assuming some of my listeners didn't either. There's quite a few premiers that are stepping down. We have two in the last week. Now I'm wondering if I have some conspiracy. So I would grab my conspiracy hat here, but I don't know what is happening, but I have some thoughts, and I'm wondering if there's going to be more coming in the near future. But with that, I'll get started on the first one here, and I have some videos too. So the first one to resign was last week on February 20th. Here you go. So this is the one that just resigned. There is a video, a 2-minute video. I'm going to play it, might as well. So this is Dennis King. He announced his resignation as the Premier of Prince Edward Island and leader of the Progressive Conservative Party. So this is a conservative leader. The one that just resigned today is the leader of the party in Newfoundland. And his name, I'm confusing the two here. His name is Andrew Furey. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So we'll play those two videos. We'll start with the first one. So this was last week on February 20th. So I just got to switch screens. When I play a video, I have to switch it up a little bit so you guys can hear it, because if not, you wouldn't be able to hear it. Here you go.
Earlier today,
that's
I
really
shared with my caucus colleagues that I would be stepping down as the Premier and the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Prince Edward Island, effective noon tomorrow. Over the holidays, I had a long conversation with my family, and we came to the decision at that time that I wouldn't be reoffering in the next election. And since that time, I have been thinking long and hard about when might be the best time to share that news with our caucus and with Islanders, and when would be the appropriate time for me to step aside and allow for new leadership for our province. And I struggled with it, honestly, because in reality, there is no perfect time. I have felt for a while that, and I knew that I had more runway behind me than I did perhaps in front of me. Further complicated with the threats of tariffs and the threats to our country's sovereignty and economic uncertainty, and realizing that those aren't going to be simple issues that are going to disappear in a few days or weeks. They will require the attention every minute of every day for the next 4 years. And that really helped me determine that it was best for me to hand the baton of leadership to someone who can be focused for the long term. And I've always known that leadership is more than just one person. Over the last number of months, I have been comforted to see the strength and
Let me
ability
know
and
if you guys can't
consistency
hear it.
of so many in our caucus, to watch them stand up and to take action and to lead in difficult times. That comfort, quite honestly, allowed me to take and make what I believe in my heart is the best decision for our province, for our party, for our country, and for my family. And to be clear, my health is fine. I'm doing very well. And while I know this might be shocking news to some today, or at least some people, as I told them, they have told me it's shocking. I do feel that I have repeatedly said time and again that I wouldn't be a lifer in this job, and that once I had made up my mind, I would move on, and that's where it brings me to today. As is the traditional convention and in keeping with the bylaws of our provincial party, an interim leader and premier will be chosen by caucus and the provincial executive, and an official announcement on that will be made in the hours ahead.
Interesting. Yeah, let me know how the sound is. I'm just reading a comment here. Premier just signed MOU with Quebec on a very contentious deal on hydro. The Liberal Party must rip up this MOU. Furey must not be allowed to personally benefit from this multi-billion-dollar deal. We can no longer keep track of personal investments. Yeah, I don't know a lot about that. Let me know where you're watching from, by the way. And if the sound is okay. I just realized I had ChatGPT on, and every time I open it on my computer, it does like weird gargling noise with my mic. I don't know. So you're from Newfoundland. Okay. That's good. That's good. So you probably know a lot more about what's happening there than I do. I'm in Saskatchewan. I know a bit about what's happening in New Brunswick just because I'm originally from there. So if you have any information you want me to share and stuff, feel free to say in the comments. Like I said, this is a conversation. This show, I do it live because I want people to be able to interact with me. I find it's a lot more fun for myself too. I enjoy it a lot more when I get to interact with the comments. And if I look up there, it's because I have all the comments in on one screen. And then I have another screen where I share video and another screen where I share just basically things on Twitter and stuff. So I like it when you guys participate. It makes it more fun and easier for me. And it makes it more like a conversation, even for you guys who are watching. So yeah, so that was the premier of Newfoundland. Or no. No, 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 no. That was Dennis King, the premier of Prince Edward Island. Sorry about that. He resigned on the 20th. Now we have the premier of Newfoundland that just resigned today. So I'm going to bring this up and we'll listen to that one.
For trust and support to become the 14th premier of Newfoundland and Labrador. From the dark days of the pandemic to the brighter future now confirmed by signing the MOU that redefined Churchill Falls. It has been a wild and unexpected journey right from the start to bring us here to today, to the finish. It is with a heart full of pride and hard-earned confidence in the future of Newfoundland and Labrador that I must now move on. Almost exactly 5 years ago to the day, I started my campaign with the admission to each and every one of you that I am not a career politician. I had a list of what I wanted to accomplish, goals that as a proud Newfoundlander and Labradorian, I know I shared with all of you. And through the highs and the lows, bright moments and blind sides, history made and past wrongs rewritten, I feel that what we have accomplished together will no doubt be rock solid foundation for our province moving forward. I could only leave knowing that that fact is true.
Sorry, I'm making a face because I'm like, he sounded just like the other one. Same wording. Give me a sec. I have a hunch. I just want to go back to the other one.
caucus colleagues
I'm
that I
just
would be
listening.
stepping down as the Premier and the leader of the Progressive Conservative Party of Prince Edward Island, effective noon tomorrow. Over the holidays, I
They use
had a long conversation with
the
my
term
family,
move on.
and we came to the decision at that time that I wouldn't be reoffering in the next election. And since that time, I have been thinking long and hard about when might be the best time to share that news with our caucus and with Islanders,
I'm just
and
sorry, I'm
when
still
would
listening.
be the appropriate time for me to step aside
You guys can't
and
hear it.
allow
I've
for
got to.
new leadership for our province. And I struggled with it, allow for new leadership for our province.
It's a strange word. It's a strange word to use, move on. It's not resigning or stepping down. It's move on. Usually that means you're going to bigger, better things or you're upgrading. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, I might be over analyzing this, but I'm wondering, does that mean that they've been maybe not the one Dennis King, but the other guy? Does that mean he's going to go be working for the Mark Carney administration, like the Mark Carney government, and he's stepping down? But this comes at a really interesting time. Both of them are within the same week. And sorry, I'm just going to respond to David. So David, yeah, on Sunday I was going live and I'm going to respond to David's comment. And my husband and I were joking because I was in DC and I was invited to this exclusive Doge party on Saturday night. And I went there. I didn't even know what I was going into. So it's kind of funny. And the guy who invited me was so random on an escalator. He's like, you should come to this thing tonight, after I said I didn't have plans. And it was this party that you can only get in if you've applied for it and you've got the clearance to go or whatever. And Elon Musk apparently was supposed to be there. So I was joking with with my husband and he says, you better not come back home with Elon Musk, baby. So it was a dark joke. But anyways, David made a joke, something about a dead rabbit. So, and I didn't know what it means. So David says, back in the day, women who were thinking they might be pregnant, a woman's urine was injected into a rabbit. If pregnant, the rabbit would die. There is a comedy, the rabbit test with. Okay, so that he's explaining, and somebody else explained it in the comments. So I thought that was funny. So David had said, tell him you're coming home with a dead rabbit. It's kind of funny. But I'm not going to cover it today, but there's a lot of baby mama drama with Elon Musk happening right now. I'll probably talk about it tomorrow. I didn't have time to go into all of this, and there's so much happening in Canada right now. I wanted to cover that. And Brenda's so yeah, Brenda's saying, I was going to share this comment here. Most seem to be referring to not being a career politician, like it was always temporary. And then Sue saying, there has always been a problem with Quebec. They would not allow our hydropower to be wheeled through their province. This has been an issue since 1970s, and it has cost us billions of dollars. Brenda, are you talking about the video when I was playing it? It's too quiet? I think so. Like, even I had a hard time hearing it. I'm just going to put my mic all the way. Not my mic, but my speakers up. See if that helps. Yeah, it's really strange. And yeah, they're both reading from a script. Almost, do you guys remember? I don't know if you remember way back during COVID, but there was a video that Scott Moe had done. And it was like the worst video a politician could have done. He was like saying, I've had enough patience with you and vaccinated. Do you guys remember that video? And it looked like he had a gun to his head. Not literally, but that's what his body language was reading. It's almost like their body language is that they don't want to resign, but they're being forced to. Like, it's strange. So I hadn't watched it before I came on the show. Okay, Brenda's saying it's okay. I'm gonna up the next video will be higher, so you should be able to hear it better. But yeah, it's strange. That's why when I hadn't watched it before I started the show, so I watched it at the same time as you guys, and I'm just like, something's off. Do you guys feel it too? Let's see what else. Here's a post by Brian Lilly. In Washington last week, PI Premier Dennis King left early and flew home. One source told me King was going to resign and be appointed to Canada's ambassador to Ireland. His office denied it and said he was flying home early due to snow. He resigned now. This is where the conspiracy starts coming in. What happened in DC? So just so you guys know, and I'm gonna go back to that after here. Oh shoot, I have two of the same thing. Just so you guys know, all 13 premiers were in DC last week. So this was on February 12th. So maybe a little bit over a week ago. So a couple weeks ago. I think it was last week. When was February 12th? Sorry, I have to look at a calendar here. No, 2 weeks ago. So just under 2 weeks ago. Let's watch this video. I'll make it bigger. There. Let's see what they say. So they were all on the 12th in DC.
CTV News has learned that all 13 of Canada's premiers, who are currently all in Washington, will be going to the White House as a group later today as they continue to make their case to try and avert a trade war between Canada and the United States. There are a couple of unprecedented things here. First of all, we've never seen all 13 premiers go to Washington at the same time at once together as a group. That's number one. Number two, now a meeting for them at the White House. We don't know if President Trump will attend. Could be the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. A lot of unknowns here, but they will be going to the White House. We know the premiers in Washington, they've been meeting with anyone they can in terms of U.S. lawmakers, lobbyists, business leaders over the last couple of days. Here's more from Doug Ford, who is the Premier of Ontario.
They don't realize how resilient Canadians are, and we take pride in being Canadian. That doesn't mean that we can't have an incredible trade relationship with our closest ally and friend. And if you talk to the American people, again, they love Canadians. Canadians love Americans. We're so interconnected on supply chains and everything else, and even on the culture, we're connected. We need to get this deal done and move forward as quickly as possible.
So it's clear Ford was given new talking points, probably scolded a bit because the way he was talking the previous week was actually doing more damage. I just wanted to point out too. So Dennis King resigned. Education Minister Rob Lance set to take his place. So there's going to be a leadership race. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to run. So I'm just going to search it. In PEI, it's a liberal leader, right? Here, I'm just going to search Rob Lance, see what comes up. I don't want to search on the screen there because it does weird things with my mic. Yeah, does it say what party? Gosh darn it. Why is it so difficult? If somebody's watching and you know. Al said, I think they went there to find out what their roles would be if USA takes over Canada. He's PC. Okay, so that's progressive conservative. You would think like this would be like easily viewable. Oh yeah, PC. Okay, Rob Lance is PC. It's the Newfoundland premier that was liberal. That's right. And he stood with the other conservative leader against the carbon tax election. So that's happening. Let's see what else there is here. So this was one take. Like I don't know if I fully agree with this, but in this take he said all 13 Canadian state leaders made the grand trip to the White House only to be deemed important enough to meet the deputy chief of staff. Absolute humiliation. You know what? That's a really good point. You have 13 basically like governors. If you're from America, if you're going to compare it to American, 13 governors who are coming to the White House to meet with President Trump, and he won't meet with them. Like they're not governors, but it's the equivalent of a governor if you were to compare it to American politics. Premier is a governor. Sorry. I'm still coughing. Like it's slight, but it's probably because I was talking so much last week. Let's see what else I've got here. Oh, this is so they went and met. This is another tweet. George says, all 13 Canadian premiers just left the White House after a meeting begging the White House official to drop the tariffs. Meanwhile, President Trump. So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state. This is what he said the same day on the 13th. So this was on the 13th. Let's see. Let's play this video quickly here. You'll get to see what he says.
So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
Ongoing with Canada, there was obviously a delay in implementing those tariffs.
I spoke to Governor Trudeau on numerous occasions, and we'll see what happens. But it just sets up so good for them. Look, the people would pay much less tax than they're paying right now. They'd have perfect military protection. They don't have any military protection because and you take a look at what's going on out there. You have Russian ships, you have China ships, you have Chinese ships, you have a lot of ships out there, and people are in danger. This is a different world today. It's a different world. They need our protection. Yes.
Interesting. I think I'd seen that last week, that video last week. So that was his response. Now, there's been new development though. He had then said we're going to match tariffs. But it wasn't explained like when he said it, he was talking in general terms with all the countries. So I'm curious as if Canada is going to be a match the tariff situation. Now, he also announced that the tariffs will be coming at the beginning of the month, I think March 5th. There was another kind of mention of that in a video. I don't have it here, but it didn't say the 25% tariff. It just said we're going to start the tariff. So that might be the match the tariff type explanation. We don't know. As it kind of goes back and forth so much, we don't know. But there is something big that was announced. And it's funny because audience has. Sorry, that's so loud. I got to lower it now. And I did fix the volume. It seems to go based on what my computer volume is. So if my volume's too low, if I can't hear it well, you guys won't be able to hear it well. If it's too loud for me, it's probably too loud for you. But I'm going to play a video here. I'll share with you the tweet. So Gunther says, Caroline Levitt just revealed that Trump is planning to reach out to the company that was responsible for the Keystone pipeline. This is how you start energy independence. It will also bring back thousands of jobs. Thank you, Trump. Now, someone in the comments had said this. I don't know who this person is. Hey, Gunther, you all do remember that the company building Keystone XL was a Canadian company, right? TC Energy, formerly TransCanada Pipelines. With all the hate America has been directed Canada's way lately, you might want to say the word please complete Key XL, because we already completed Canada's section right to the border before Biden canceled it. The word please goes a long way in Canada. I don't know if I agree with that. And why would they say please? If the Canadian company wants to come build the pipeline in the US, you don't have to ask. Like, they would be thankful to get a big contract like that instead of it using an American company. So no, they won't say please. They could probably build it themselves in the US. So we should be saying, please give us some jobs. But anyways, I'll play the video. I hadn't read that comment fully. I gotta switch screens here. Let's see what I just want to say Caroline has
Audience has it from a few
great job as a new press secretary. I really enjoy watching her.
moments ago. He says our country is doing very well, and he was just thinking about the company that was shooed away and canceled by the Biden administration who wanted to build the Keystone XL pipeline. He is inviting them back. We want the Keystone XL pipeline built. He wants a pipeline built in the Northeast, in New England, where I am from, where we have some of the highest electricity and utility rates in the country. This is a president who is constantly thinking about how he can help the American people, innovating and pushing groundbreaking ideas on every single issue. And that's, again, why the vast majority of Americans are seeing through the mainstream media and the Democrat Party's lies, because their audience has it.
Interesting. So just so people know what the Keystone Pipeline is, I found a tweet that had a map of it. I'm going to show it to you guys. Where is it? Right here. So it goes from Alberta through Saskatchewan to Manitoba, and then down through North Dakota, South Dakota. What is NEB? Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. And there's another pipeline kind of suggested through Montana, South Dakota, Nebraska as well. So you can kind of see it there. I'm just going to read this. President Trump. So this is YEG Wave. I don't know who that is, but President Trump has stated he wants the Alberta Keystone XL pipeline built now. The company building the Keystone XL pipeline that was viciously jettisoned by the incompetent Biden administration should come back to America and get it built now, Donald Trump stated on Truth Social. I'll show you the tweets by Donald Trump. There was two of them. Okay, it's the same one. Sorry. One when he posts on Truth Social, not everything he posts there makes its way. He doesn't post everything on X, but there's an account if you want to follow it. Donald J. Trump posts from Truth Social. He's got 1.6 million followers. So everything he posts on Truth Social, this guy posts on X. But this is the tweet. Our country's doing really well. And today I was just thinking that the company building the Keystone XL pipeline that was viciously jettisoned by the incompetent Biden administration should come back to America and get it built now. Get it built now. I know they were treated very badly by Sleepy Joe, but the Trump administration is very different. Easy approval, almost immediate start. If not them, perhaps another pipeline company. We want the Keystone XL pipeline built. So that was posted, I believe it was yesterday. Let's see. No, this morning. Wait a minute. We're the 25th. No, not this morning. Sorry, yesterday at 8 p.m. Now, Premier Scott Moe wrote, the path to continental energy dominance is to increase non-tariff North American trade. This includes the construction of new pipelines like Keystone XL. Got a question for you guys. Do you think Scott Moe is going to be the next one to resign? There was a lot of talks. I've heard it from so many different sources, people within the party, people outside the party, that the plan was for Scott Moe to resign this spring, and then there would be a leadership race following that to pick the next premier of Saskatchewan. Now, I was also told because of the tariff threat and stuff that that initial plan had been postponed while he deals with this, but I don't know if that's going to happen. What do you guys think? Do you think Scott Moe is going to be the next one to resign? I don't know. I thought so, but I thought he would have resigned by now. I'm curious as to who is going to be the next one to resign, if there's going to be a next one. I'm going to put my bet on Scott Moe stepping down in the next month. That you heard it here first. I guess it is kind of spring, or spring is probably in April. So maybe not in the next month, in the next 3 months. So then we'll have to talk about who do we think will be good to replace Scott Moe and run in the leadership race. So I've been approached by a few people too who I think are interested to see if I would put my support behind them. For me personally, it would have to be someone who will do a hard line on the COVID stuff. Somebody who I know, if there was to be another pandemic, would not do the same thing Scott Moe did, and who would have a strong backbone to do what is needed to be done and in protecting our liberties and freedom. So whoever I'm going to support will be that. Someone who's willing to do that, and someone who's willing to stand up for Saskatchewan. And to be honest, with the conversations that I've had with a lot of people, whether in the US or even in Saskatchewan, Alberta, the Western separatism sentiment is growing. And I'm concerned at how much Canadians are brainwashed, and I'm really concerned that the next election, the Liberals might actually win. So I know some people who's listening will be like, "Oh, that'll never happen." Yeah, I also didn't think the Liberals would be gaining as much momentum in the polls as they have been gaining in the last little while. It's almost like, oh, Trudeau was the source. And it's not even just this. It's almost like Trudeau was the source of all the problems now that we have a new Liberal leader probably getting elected. All the things that Trudeau did now doesn't matter because it's a new person. Like, I don't think Canadians are so brainwashed. I don't think they realize that Carney was kind of the brains behind Trudeau. He has a actually worse ideology than Trudeau. I think he was pushing Trudeau even more in that direction. And I think he's going to be a lot more dangerous because he's a lot smarter and more strategic. And you already see that in their communication style, like the things that they're hiding in their campaigning. And I also didn't address the fact that Ruby Dalla was disqualified. I had Ruby on my show last Monday where I interviewed her. And what happened with all of that is just insane. I should probably have covered that on my show today, but maybe I'll try covering it tomorrow because I really wanted to talk about this because this was happening right now. But yeah, my whole sentiment is if Mark Carney actually wins the next election, Alberta and Saskatchewan are going to get destroyed by Mark Carney. It's not just all of Canada who's going to get destroyed. I think there's going to be even more target towards Alberta and Saskatchewan. That's if they win the next election. Now, Mark Carney is going to be the prime minister, most likely. I doubt he's not going to be. It looks like he's going to win, and they pushed out his only competition that was reasonable, which is Ruby Dalla. In the meantime, when Mark Carney becomes a prime minister, this is what I predict. He's going to go the whole Team Canada approach. And as Trump is becoming cozier to Saskatchewan and Alberta, which which we're seeing, which is something I won't fully admit that I was in a meeting with some people from the White House where I suggested open up the relationship with Alberta and Saskatchewan, because if Mark Carney wins, the separation resentment's going to build way up in the West, because Mark Carney's going to try to destroy Alberta and Saskatchewan. Show us how you will treat us better. And what happens? That meeting was happening Saturday night. On Sunday, was it yesterday or Monday? It gets released exactly in line with the things that I suggested. I may have been in a meeting that will have consequential differences in Saskatchewan and Alberta in the next few years, but yeah, I think there is a chance that Mark Carney will win the next election. I believe once he becomes the prime minister, he's going to push a wedge between Western Canada and the East Coast. And this is what I predict. He's going to say, we have a common enemy. Trump's our common enemy to the rest of Canada. And all the brainwashed Canadians, it's going to be pushed by mainstream media, and all the brainwashed Canadians are going to fall right in line with that, like little good sheep that they are, while it completely destroys Alberta and Saskatchewan and our natural resources and our way of life here. And I think the separatism sentiment in Saskatchewan and Alberta is going to go way up. Right now, I predict it's about 30%. Sorry. Right now, I predict it's about 30%. But if Mark Carney wins the next election, I think it's going to go above 50%. I'm just reading some of the comments. Brenda says, I will never forget all the harms politicians have done. Al says, is he really leading, or is it mainstream media just saying that? And that's a justifiable comment to say. However, I have family members who are former Liberals who were certain to support Pierre, who is now going back and saying, oh no, I think Mark Carney would be good. Like, and that's the thing. That's actually what's happening. I get my kind of idea of sentiment of the former Liberals or the undecided voters by my lefty families members that very much go along with mainstream media narrative. So I think, sorry, I'm reading the comments too. So there's some of them I got to go back. I guess I have a lot of thoughts on this. And I think Trump is making that move, to be honest. I think he's making that move to put a wedge between the West and the East. Because if Trump says, because look at what he's announced. He's announced more tariff on iron, metals, aluminum. That's Ontario. So he's saying, I'm going to get a bunch of tariffs in Ontario and Quebec. But he says, I'm not going to put tariffs on the oil and gas, or I'm going to do really low tariffs on oil and gas. And now he's saying we're going to build the Keystone pipeline. So he's almost singling out Alberta, Saskatchewan as like his favorites. And then he's like putting it even harder on Ontario, Quebec, causing like that wedge between the two. If you look at it like a family dynamic, let's give this as an example. Let's look at it a family dynamic. The Alberta, Saskatchewan's like the favorite child, and Ontario, and like I'm doing hypothetically, and Ontario is like the one that always misbehaved, the one that has different political ideology than Trump or the rest of the family. And so we're going to punish the child that's less liked, and we're going to give special treatment to this child. What would that do in a family situation? Like in a general family situation, would create a lot of jealousy, animosity between the two siblings, which in like literally is what is happening. But why would he want to do that? I think it's to create more pressure politically to for a federal election. And I think he's recognizing if Carney gets in, he's going to be worse than Trudeau. So even the momentum, but see, that's the other thing. When I was in DC last week, the sentiment from Americans was very much, they don't understand the geopolitical climate in Canada. They don't understand how our politics work, how our voters work. They seem to be very oblivious to all of it. So when I was kind of explaining some of the stuff from my own personal experience and being involved in the political world, knowing a lot of people in politics, I was kind of explaining some of the stuff, and they didn't even know that Mark Carney was going to be prime minister without even being elected. They didn't know the resentment between the West and the East, and the resentment from Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Ottawa. They didn't know like so many different things. Like even one guy who works at the White House, he's like, well, why would we want Alberta and Saskatchewan when we can just get the resources through tariffs? I'm like, I don't think you understand tariffs. Tariffs doesn't get you the resources cheaper for free. Tariffs means what you buy from Canada, like let's say you buy oil and gas, you pay a tax on that, a tariff on that. You do, the US does, not Canada, the US does. But the reason tariffs often will help America, it forces the competition for it to be buy local. So you don't benefit more through tariffs by benefit more is to as in get more natural resources through tariffs. If anything, it forces you to buy more within your own country, which would work if you had unlimited amounts of oil and gas, which you don't. If you want to be the biggest supplier of oil and gas to the world, you do have the refinery capacity to do it, but you don't have the supply, which is where Keystone XL pipeline comes in. I said you need the supply, and you'll be more benefited as a country if you get the supply from Alberta, Saskatchewan. So anyways, we had that discussion. He's like, well, would Alberta, Saskatchewan want to join the US? I'm like, not right now, not the majority, but it would change if Mark Carney gets in. So I think the momentum would build more if the Liberals keep destroying the West, which is likely to happen. So anyways, that's the tweet. Let's see. There's another one. I'm just going to see if I can find it. Ezra Levant had a tweet that I thought was good. Keystone Pipeline would bring 800,000 barrels of Canadian oil to US daily. That one move would almost be enough to replace OPEC conflict oil with Canadian ethical oil. But you've got to lean into the oil sands, not put a tariff on them. So, and the just so you guys know, the oil that we have in Canada is not just oil sands. That's one of them. We have regular oil too, like with pump jacks and everything. That's not the oil sands. The oil sand oil, the reason it's valuable and so is because it's a different type of oil that can be used to do different types of things that regular pump jack oil doesn't. So I'm just looking to see. And just so you guys know, the Keystone pipeline was stopped when Joe took his first day in office. He did an executive order. Recommended they get green jobs. Interesting. Okay, another person that I met while I was in DC is Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Report. So he's a pollster. Actually, I didn't meet him in DC. I met him at America Fest. So we hung out at America Fest, and then I ran into him again in DC at CPAC. So anyway, so we were chatting, and while we were chatting, he left early, so he wasn't there for Trump's speech, and I was listening to it. Anyways, Trump gave him a huge shout out, and I'll play it for you guys here. So Rasmussen Report was the only polling company that had the election correct. So they polled and that Trump was going to win, and they were accurate in their polling. That the way that Trump win was accurately reflected by them. So they're kind of known as the more accurate pollster. So this is account Ruthless Truth hosts reality checks on Rasmussen poll opinions on my own. People are biased. Polls shouldn't be. But he has a YouTube channel as well. But I'll show you the video. And the reason there's a reason I'm talking about him. And I'll show you the video where Trump kind of gives him a shout out here. Give me a second. I got to switch screens again.
But we didn't give it to China. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama. We're going to take back the Panama Canal. In a matter of weeks, we have restored America's pride, America's confidence, and America's spirit. According to a brand new poll from Rasmussen, the number of Americans who believe we are on the right track now exceeds the number who think we're on the wrong track. This is the first time in 23 years. That's hard to believe. And we had one poll where we're at 81% right track, wrong track. I guess it depends on who, but that one poll, because Rasmussen's been a good poll, first time in over 20 years that we've had a positive number on that. That's great. That's great. November 5th, 2024 will go down as one of the most important days in the history of our country. I'm pointing to Mike Lindell.
Yeah. So that was Trump at CPAC on Saturday. So I was talking to, and here's Rasmussen. I think I'm saying it properly. I'm not sure. Looking for a poll that real Donald Trump mentioned at CPAC. You've just found it. Trump approval at 56% today, up 2 points from yesterday. And so I was talking to Mark about, I said, you should poll Canadians and Western separatism sentiment and stuff. So anyways, he's doing a poll right now. So he's going to release it tomorrow. And I'm going to go on his show, his YouTube show, to talk about it. And then he's going to be coming on my show to talk about it. So yeah. So he kind of show me some of the questions. He's not polling Canadians, though. He's polling Americans just to see the sentiment on Americans. And like it's asking, do you have a favorable, somewhat unfavorable, or very unfavorable impression of Justin Trudeau? Justin Trudeau has been Prime Minister of Canada since 2015. Has his term as Prime Minister been good or bad? So it's just polling that. And then if some Canadian provinces wanted to secede from Canada, would you support or oppose having these Canadian provinces become part of the US? So he's polling Americans to see what their sentiment is on that. So it'll be really interesting to see what Americans think about Canada joining as well. So, but the fact that he's polling and Trump monitors what they poll and what the sentiment is from this pollster is going to be really interesting to see the response and see how, if Trump's going to talk about it or mention it in his negotiation or in his pressure techniques. I'm trying to see what else there is here. Another thing that came up today, another topic, was the Five Eyes intel sharing. So I did tweet about this. I'm just going to find my tweet. Here, I'll just bring it up here. So I said, this does not shock me one bit. So Sam Cooper tweeted, most troubling rumors I've been hearing from a military source confirmed. this would be devastating. So this is the report. Exclusive. Peter Navarro, one of the U.S. president's closest advisor, is pushing for the U.S. to remove Canada from Five Eyes intelligence sharing network, which also includes the UK, Australia, New Zealand. So, but before you're like, okay, yeah, we can kind of believe this. Navarro actually was asked about this, and in a press conference thingy. So I'm just going to bring it up and we'll watch it together. So this was his response to this report.
This nonsense from the Financial Times is a product of a culture in the media where they report stories and never name their sources. And my view is that we should never have to comment on any story where it's based on unnamed sources. Have you ever noticed that? Okay, that was just crazy stuff. We would never, ever jeopardize our national security, ever, with allies like Canada, ever. So please stop doing that. And I have proposed, and I hope somebody's hearing me, that we just don't pay any attention to any questions that are based on anonymous sources. This nonsense from the Financial Times.
What he's saying is they're using anonymous sources. They never quote their source. So we shouldn't even pay attention to anything like anonymous sources, like reporting. So he's basically saying, I'm not going to answer that. I don't think he's saying that he didn't, did he? I'm just going to listen back.
Is a product of a culture. Please stop doing that. And I have proposed, and Canada ever. So allies like Canada ever. With allies like Canada ever.
I'm just re-listening here. Give me a second.
Jeopardize our national security.
We wouldn't jeopardize our national securities with allies like Canada. I'm curious, though. He doesn't say outright that he wasn't not considering it. It's interesting. But I mean, if he was considering of not sharing data with Canada, and he said concerns with like whatever that data could potentially be leaked or whatever, he wouldn't come out and say it publicly. Sorry, I'm just looking at I'm reading in some of the comments. Bruce Bounty Chick says, there is a lot of people who I know are really interested in separation. We would have to be a constitutional republic for a while first, so we would be independent. See, and that's the thing with American states, they're a lot more independent from the, like, I guess the federal or it's not, is it called federal? No, that we call it that because it's a federation. But each state is basically its own country in the US in a way. Putin warned America prior to 9/11. Think about that. I hadn't heard about that. Yeah, it's interesting to see, but he's basically saying, let's stop believing reports that media make from anonymous sources. He's saying he wouldn't jeopardize Canada as their biggest ally, like the relationship with Canada as their biggest ally. So it was interesting to hear his response, but he didn't say like this is outright false. He mostly attacked like kind of the media. It's I'm just saying it's an interesting response. Next story. Where's the Epstein Island or the Epstein client list? I want to know. Are you guys on the same page? Also want to know. Sorry, my chair, I just realized I'm not like in the middle of the screen, so I'm just going to move over a bit. Where is the Epstein list? Rep. Lauren Boebert, I don't know how to say that, calls on Attorney General Pam Bondi to release the Epstein files today. So just so you know, the Epstein files are actually on Pam Bondi's desk. So that was, I think, a couple of days ago it was released that, yeah, Pam's been given them, and now it's up to Pam to release the data. Now, there's a few other things, like there's another video. There's a video I want to share with you guys. I saw this before a long time ago. I gotta switch screens though. This was a reporter that was on a hot mic. What she says about it.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. And I had it all 3 years ago.
Interesting. I remember seeing this a while back. When do you guys think it's going to be released? And, hypothetically, what if all these premiers stepping down are stepping down ahead of this? I don't know. I know that's obviously like a huge conspiracy. I have no proof of that, but the timing of it is kind of insane. Like, what if everything's about to like fall apart? Anyway, so when do you guys think the Epstein list is going to get released? I was hoping it'd be today or yesterday. Kash Patel said it was one of the first things he was going to do. I'm just going to see if, while I've been recording, if something's been released. I'm so sorry. I don't see anything here. Everyone's just like kind of calling for her to release it. Oh, here's a video.
The list of
What's her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Is that her name? Here, I'll bring it up. Let's see what she has to say.
I support all the lists being released. I want to see Epstein's list. I want to see the list of the sexual misconduct slush fund. You know, members of Congress and senators that taxpayer money was used to pay out their victims. I want to see all the list.
Including the Gates report.
If they're going to release one, release them all.
Thank you.
I support all the lists being released.
It's true. If they're going to release one, release them all. Why hasn't it been released yet? And there was some of the comments said the longer it takes to get released, the more people will think that the list's been cleaned. Like Dr. Simone Goddick said, which names on the Epstein client list are so explosive that they're causing this delay? If there's nothing to hide, there's no excuse for dragging this out. The longer you stall, the more obvious it becomes. Drop the list now. So that was like 6 hours ago. This is a funny meme. Come on, Pam. Release the Epstein list. Funny meme. Interesting. Now, another thing that's happened, Trump has started again the White House tours. Here, I've got a video of it. So, just so you know, you can do the White House tours if you I think if you message your I think it's congressman, one of them in the US. If you're Canadian though, you if you look at the release, you have to ask the embassy. So I did call last week while I was in DC. I did call the Canadian embassy, and they actually have it in their automated machine as like some of the things that you're calling them for. And one of them, if you're calling for a White House tour, we have not figured out the logistic of this. So I wasn't able to apply to go. But anyways, they just started. And this is a video of Trump. This is the first White House tour. There wasn't any when Biden was in, but now that Trump is in, it was something Melania Trump started during Trump's first term. I think it's actually an excellent move. It's a way of making the country or the people in the country feel more that they have more access to the president or more access to part of their democracy. I think this is actually a great thing. It's not super loud though. There you go. They weren't expecting it, I don't think.
What an exciting tour. It's really something. Is everybody having a good time? The biggest people come here and they all have beautiful offices, but when they walk into the Oval Office, there's nothing like it. They look and some of them actually start crying, and these are business leaders. I don't like to see that. I think you're better than that, but some of them actually get emotional. But just have a good time. We told you to get an extra special tour. You're the first one of the year. Get an extra special tour, especially for this guy right here. Good. Any questions? Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you very much. It's great. We love our country, right?
Yes, sir.
We're war, and we're trying to get rid of this horrible Ukraine-Russia war, and I think we're doing a lot. We're dealing with both parties and Europe, and I think we'll get it done. It should have never started. It should never, ever have started. And if it did start, it could have been ended in a week, not after 3 years of bloodshed and millions of people killed and all of that great architecture knocked down. You know, those beautiful spires are all knocked down and gone, thousands of years old. It's terrible, but that's what it is. But now we're here. We're going to solve the problem. But I want to thank you very much for coming. The tour is so great. You did such a good job. First Lady worked very hard at making it perfect, and I think you're going to really love it. And I heard you were here, and I said, let's stop by and say hello. And it's a group of very smart-looking people, I must say. Very smart. Maybe someday you'll be here as the president, right? Somebody in this group, I should say. Have a good time. Have a great tour. And you're going to give them a special tour, okay? You're going to get a special tour. Have fun, everybody. USA, 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 USA.
That's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that they're giving people, regular people, access. I don't know what the process is to getting access, but I did make some friends that work in the White House. So I was told next time I'm in DC to give them some warning, and they're going to take me for a tour in the White House. I did go there. I do have photo. I did walk there. Actually, on Sunday, after I went live, I walked all the way to I think it's, where's that big tower there? Is it oh, here, I'll bring it up on the map. What's it called? The Lincoln Memorial? No. The Washington Monument. Yeah. So I didn't go to the Lincoln Memorial. I went from the Capitol, all the way down there's like a big park there. And I'll share some photos later. And then I walked from the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, sorry, to the White House. But the White House had like a lot of fencing around it. So you couldn't get like in front of it like you used to. They have like big, tall metal fence, but they had another fence attached. So I don't know. The day before, there was like a Ukrainian protest outside. I don't know all the details. I just saw all the Ukrainian flags. So yeah, you can't kind of get in front of it to take any photos. In the photos that I took was kind of through two fences, so couldn't really get good photos. And as you're walking in this park, you're walking by all of these different museum. Like there's a Smithsonian Museum, National Museum. There's and that's several. The National Gallery of Art. There's Hirshhorn Museum. There's another building here. Smithsonian Castle. And a lot of these things you can just go in free of charge. There's like a botanical garden and there's no cost to go in. Like they don't take your information. You just walk in and you can just go visit. So I went to the botanical garden. That was cool. And all of the buildings here, I'll show you guys like the photos. All of the buildings are so big and majestic. I just couldn't believe it. I took a few of the really big ones. Okay, where's the other one? Yeah, you can you can't really see it from there. Let's see. Yeah, like just to give you an idea, one of the photos of the White House is like this. Let's see if it focuses in on it. You see it? Yeah. Right there. So that was one of my photos of the White House. You couldn't really see it very well. But then they had this one. There, let's see if it'll zoom in. Yeah, this is a nice photo too. Here, let's wait. It's gonna zoom in. Give me a sec. There you go. Yeah, that was Sunday. I walked for like 4 hours. And it made me realize something, not just the big buildings, but all of the buildings there. All of the buildings in Washington, even just the homes. There's like so much pride that goes into the appearance and the decorative clad on the outside of the house. Like everything was just so beautiful. And there, like, pride goes into architecture, and you just walking around, you're just seeing these majestic buildings, and it makes you kind of wish we were still building like that. Someone had, I don't know if it was Tucker Carlson or Jordan Peterson, had said something that kind of stuck with me, but I can't remember who said it. It was when you look at architecture, you can see the state a society was in at the time it was built. And when you start seeing the architecture decline, it shows a declining state of society. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that or if you know who it was that said it. I'm going to see if I can find it and I'll talk about it maybe tomorrow on my show. And I'll share some of the photos of the people that I ran into. My favorite person that I ran into was Tim Ballard I think this was on Friday. I'm so sorry for coughing. It's been like this for the last week. I've just been talking so much. But Yeah, he wasn't with security or anyone. He was just like, I just ended up seeing him and I'm like, I go to him and I say, "Hey, you don't know me. I'm a former police officer, trained profiler, sex offenders, and I I learned about you in my training before you even became famous, before your movie was out. And I just want to say thank you. And if you ever need a profiler, I'd love to come to help." And he's like, "Yes, we would love to have you join our team." And then we exchanged information with this other guy that he was with. So I've got their information. So when they have things in Canada, or maybe I'm going to go to the US and help them when they have cases on profiling the pedophiles that they're, I guess, zoning in on or whatever. So yeah, so that was like the highlight of my week, because when I left the RCMP, like I didn't leave because I didn't want to work with like victims of sexual abuse anymore. I left because I had a medical condition that confined me to a wheelchair, and I was kind of forced to medically retire. So I thought, I still felt like in my lifetime, I'll be working to protect children. I don't know to what capacity. It can't be as a police officer. Then maybe it'll be some other way. So, so I have this huge passion to help victims of sexual abuse and help fight human trafficking and such, and put away pedophiles in jail. So, so if I can get to do that in any other way, that's like a huge dream of mine. So yeah, so that was really exciting. So we'll see what will happen. Yeah, Ballard has weathered a lot of false accusation in his fight for kids. I did see some of that online. I think it was like last year. There was a lot of stuff that they were throwing. But when you're planning on exposing the evils of the world, and you're working to expose, like say, the Epstein list or things like that, the powers that be are going to come at you with everything they've got. And I will forever remember myself watching the actual rescue mission and the work that he did in my training. Like I didn't see it from a movie on the big screen. I saw it firsthand, what he did and how he talked about what was happening. Like you could see he was so gutted inside. Like they would go to these houses and they'd have to get the evidence to close the house, and so they would grab the evidence of these houses that were trafficking children, and they'd have to walk away from those houses with those children still in it, and you see just the anguish in them, the anguish that they couldn't just grab the kids and bring them to safety right then and there. And just so I saw that. I saw the side of him where he would fight to protect these kids before he was anything famous, before the movie Sound of Freedom. And I very much looked up and respected him. I won't say idolized him. I don't idolize anyone but God. But as someone who does a similar work I wanted to do, I looked up to him in that aspect, because he did something a lot of police officers don't. He put the welfare of those kids ahead of his own. Like he left his career because they wouldn't let him go find this child. He had found the boy out of the family, but the sister was still being human trafficked, and he quit his job to go find her. And if you've seen the movie Sound of Freedom, it's not just a movie, it's based on a true story. So, yeah, and his nonprofit still does that to this day. He was doing a bunch of interviews that I kind of, when I was getting interviews, I was hearing the story. He was talking about how he just helped rescue a child. A father had reached out to him, and it was his daughter. I think she was 14 or 13, had just been human trafficked, and the father thankfully she had two phones, like her regular phone, but her old phone still was getting all of the information, so they were able to trace it. She had been I guess, groomed online and was told, hey, I'm going to bring you on this big yacht, fancy yacht. And she was brought on the yacht and disappeared from there. So, and they were able to rescue the girl and bring her back. So he still does that to this day. His organization still rescues children to this day. I mean, the police world can only do so much, especially when it crosses international borders and stuff. So it's great to know that there's organizations out there that are even going ahead, proactively doing stuff to kind of to stop it. But yeah, it's interesting. So that'll be it for the show today. I will be back tomorrow. Maybe I'll share some pictures. I'll have them ready on the screen. It's just a little bit more difficult to get them on the computer. And yeah, I'll talk about Ruby Dalla tomorrow and her getting booted out and just kind of my thoughts on that. And I don't know what else I'll cover, but yeah, that's I'm glad to be back home. I miss my family. I miss my own bed. I miss my husband a lot. But and I'm glad to be back doing the show. I missed you guys. I miss doing this. It was a little bit hard to do when you're at a conference. So if I go to another one of these though, I think what I'm going to do is get like a table set up and do a live show while I'm there and maybe interview some of the people that I've met. So I think next time if I go to CPAC in DC, I'll bring a booth and do a show while I'm there so you guys still get content. And yeah, anyways, that was a lot of fun. I'll talk a bit more too about some of this stuff. And then yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. If you don't follow me already, you can follow me on all social media. If you search Nadine G. Ness, I'm on YouTube, Twitter, or X now, Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, and TikTok. So just search Nadine G as in golf Ness. And yeah, so if you don't subscribe already, do so. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.